Oh, right, we are back. It's time for Ask Zach. Ask Zach is the way I end every single one of my podcasts. It's a segment where people who support me on Patreon, patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. It's $1 a month. You can give more if you want. Man, it really helps me. It literally pays my rent. But $1 a month gives you access to submit questions to me on Patreon. I only accept questions through Patreon. You can send it to me through Patreon DM. You can post you can put a comment below a post on Patreon. I'll read the questions there. If you submit a question, I will not guarantee to answer your question on the show, but I do guarantee if you submit a question on Patreon, I will read it with my own eyeballs. I look at every one of them, and then I pick the top couple at the end of every episode and talk about them on the show and read and discuss them. So I want to start with a question from Aiden. Aiden writes in, he says, "Hey, Zach, not really an analytics question, but who's your favorite NFL team? Maybe you haven't mentioned this before and I am just too new and haven't come across that video yet, or maybe you keep it a secret on purpose. I haven't heard anything about your favorite sports team so far. Love your stuff, man. Thank you." Let me be very, very, very clear. I have mentioned this before. I don't blame you. I just want to be very clear because I want to make this into a breakout and tell people I do not have a favorite team. I do not have a favorite team. I do not have a favorite team. Everyone asks this question. A lot of people accuse me of being, I mean, literally insert any team. They're all, you're a fan of this team and this team. I don't have a favorite team. I'm not burdened by that. It feels great to not have a favorite team. I freelance. I love stories. I love following the entire league. I love following the NBA. I love following the NFL. I love following college football. And I root for good stories. I root for people I like. The biggest example of this right now is Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew's a great story. He's a great guy. I've met him. I shook his hand once. He's an awesome dude. How can you not love Gardner Minshew? And so I love good stories. I love following them. That's what I enjoy. I love telling stories, and that's the thing about football I love. And then I love the nerdy nuances of the game. I love breaking down film. I'm a nerd. I like answering questions. I'm curious, why did Andy Dalton get benched? I'm going to go watch every snap of Andy Dalton this year. It makes me want to blow my brains out. But hey, despite the fact he's a bad quarterback, I enjoy learning, why did Andy Dalton fail? Why did Marcus Mariota fail? Right? It's interesting to me. And so my passion is storytelling. And the vehicle, the stories I chose to tell when I made up this podcast was I want to talk about sports. Because I love football. I'm a fan of football. I'm a fan of sports. I love watching sports. It makes me very happy. Brings me a bunch of joy. But I'm not a fan of any single team. I know that blows people's minds. I think some people, they're so into their team, they can't imagine not having one. I get it. I just choose not to. I will acknowledge I used to be a Seattle Mariners fan when I was 13 years old. And I got so frustrated with that organization. They kept trading away good players. The straw that broke the camel's back for me was when the Mariners traded away Adam Jones, a really good prospect, the guy I was so excited to watch. They traded away Adam Jones for a pitcher named Eric Bedard, and Adam Jones went on to be this incredible all-star. And I was like, I'm so sick of this team trading away good people that become all-stars with other teams, and I'm giving my time and energy to this thing, the Seattle Mariners, a team that I have zero control over. I said never again. And so I just decided from that day on, not a fan of any team. I don't have a favorite team. I am very happily not a fan of a team. It's very freeing. I can watch whatever games I want on Sundays and Saturdays. I can do whatever I want. I feel so bad for Redskins fans. Can you imagine being a Washington Redskins fan right now where you're a fan of this miserable organization who cannot run things well to save their lives, and then you have no control. You have no control as a fan over your organization. I decided when I was 13 years old, I'm not giving any money, time, energy, nothing to the Seattle Mariners, and I do not have a favorite team at all. I think the closest thing I get to having a favorite team is I really like the Eastern Washington football team. If I ever finish my degree, I'll finish it through Eastern Washington online. The closest thing I really truly come to being a fan of a certain team is the Portland Pickles, like a wood bat baseball team. It's like college kids playing baseball. They sell good margaritas. I go with my girlfriend and watch baseball there. I hope I said baseball earlier. It's a baseball team. little tiny, like not, it's below single A baseball, but it's really fun. They're Portland Pickles. They have Dylan the Pickle as their mascot. It's this horrifying looking mascot. I love the Portland Pickles. That's fun. But I don't have a favorite team. I truly try to be non-biased on the show. It really helps that I don't have a favorite team, and I'm not emotionally invested in any professional sports team. I don't have a favorite one. I'm very happy that way. I don't want a favorite team. I just don't. I don't like that at all. I got burned out when I was 13 years old by the Seattle Mariners and said never again. So I don't have a favorite team at all. It's funny to me when people accuse me. They'll like, dude, just admit you're a Cowboys fan, or just admit you're a Browns fan, or just admit you're an Eagles fan. Just admit. It's like, I can't admit I'm a fan of every team. If you read the comments over the years, it's like everybody thinks I'm a fan of certain teams. I just love the game. I don't have a favorite team, and I just wanted to put that out there. I do not have a favorite team. No matter what you say, you can believe whatever you want. I'm not hiding anything. I don't understand fandom. I don't understand having a favorite team and investing yourself emotionally in this thing you can't control. It just sounds infuriating to me. So I don't have a favorite team in the slightest. If you do, I'm happy for you. That's just not how I roll. It doesn't sound fun to me. That sounds very exhausting and disappointing. Lenny writes in. Lenny says, hey, Zach, we know that you don't look at stats too much, but I wanted to know what you'd go for in a player if you were a general manager or a head coach. Many would just go for the best player statistically, but do you think that any good player could make it on any team, or would you put mental ability and toughness over their skill? Absolutely. First of all, he says, and thank you for the great work you do. I'm so happy that I can support you. I wish I could just buy you lunch once a month and talk sports with you, but I'm happy just to be part of this community. Keep up the good work. Greetings from Denmark. Hey, Lenny, if I'm ever in Denmark, let's get lunch. That'd be really fun. I would love that. Yeah, that would be really cool, Lenny. I'd love to get lunch with you someday if that's ever possible. Man, what's the most valuable thing to me? I think definitely what you said at the end. How would you say at the end of that question? You said, is mental toughness is mental ability and toughness more important than skill? Yes, absolutely, 100%. I'll take a guy who's less talented, who works hard and is in the right spot any day. Why is Julian Edelman such a good wide receiver? He works hard. He's bought in. The guy played quarterback in college. Julian Edelman was a quarterback in college who turned himself into a good receiver with hard work. That's awesome. Antonio Gates played basketball in college. Antonio Gates made himself into a legendary tight end because he did the work. Tom Brady's not the most physically gifted quarterback of all time, not even close. But Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time because he does the work. It's his heart. It's inside. The things that drive Tom Brady are what make him special. Drew Brees is another example. What makes Drew Brees so good? It's who he is. It's not his physical ability. He's a tiny, short quarterback with an average arm. Right now, everyone is in love with this quarterback, Jacob Eason from University of Washington. He's got this huge arm, but he makes really bad mistakes with those terrible interceptions. And I go, I can't right now buy into Jacob Eason because what I see on film is a lot of ugly, a lot of bad. I question his work ethic. The story behind Jacob Eason is he transferred into Washington. He had an entire year off to prepare, and he's not prepared. He didn't do the work. It's really frustrating as a guy who I thought Jacob Eason was going to be phenomenal. Isn't. It's a lesson in how valuable and important work ethic is. Joe Burrow is the quarterback at LSU. Joe Burrow is not the most physically gifted quarterback in the world, but Joe Burrow has done so much work behind the scenes to make himself a better player. Better mechanics leading to a stronger arm. Better footwork making him more accurate. He mastered the offense. He clearly studied a ton in the offseason. So to me, obviously, yeah, mental ability and being in the right spot, I don't care how physically talented you are. There are so many stories about people who were physically talented that have failed in sports, especially at the NFL, especially the NFL. I don't care how physically talented you are. A lot of guys are physically talented. And yeah, I'll be honest, of course you want a guy. Like if you can, the dream is to get an incredibly physically gifted guy who also works hard. A guy that comes to mind for me Julio Jones is so underappreciated. He's incredibly physically talented. He's unbelievable. And Julio Jones has a good attitude. He works hard. He shows up. He does the little things right. But not everybody's like that. It's rare to find a guy who does both. And if I was a general manager or a coach, if I was scouting players and recruiting guys, I'd say, let's get lunch. I want to talk about life. What hard moments have you been through? What drives you? Why do you fight hard? Why do you want to be a part of this team? What are you going to bring to our team? You can tell in a conversation what motivates a person. I don't care about stats. I don't care about height and weight. I don't care about that stuff because it's as sexy and appealing as it is to have a 6'6" wide receiver who can jump out of the building. If that 6'6" wide receiver doesn't do any work and doesn't work hard, don't want him. He's going to line up wrong. He's going to run the wrong route. You can't work with that. I want guys, if I was a general manager or head coach, I'll take a guy who's less talented, who buys in, who's incredibly coachable and works hard. That's what I want. That's the people I would want to work with. It's really any aspect of life. You want to work with people who, I don't care how physically talented you are, it's the people who work hard. I'll tell a story real quick. I know I'm rambling on now about this segment. I know a girl who, in college, we went out for a little while together. She was what do you call it? She made drones for NASA. No joke. As a senior in college, 22 years old, was making drones for NASA as her side job in college. Girl was valedictorian at her college, top of her class in the engineering school. She made an iron lung for Stanford, and her options were after college to go work for NASA or to go to Stanford for grad school. This is an incredibly accomplished person. And one time, we went out for a little while. I asked her, what is the secret? Why are you so good at what you do? And she said, Zach, there are people in my program who are far more talented than me. They do the math faster in their head. They get it better. It's quicker for them. But the reason why I'm better than them and I succeed over them, she wasn't bragging. She was being honest. I really respected the way she talked about it. She went into work. Like she would leave. She lived in Vancouver, went to school in Portland. And she would leave at 5 in the morning, get there at 5:30, and then wouldn't leave campus from 5:30 in the morning until 7:30 p.m. All day, homework, studying, preparing, doing the work. She worked so hard, incredibly hard, way harder than all those other kids. And she became the valedictorian, top of her class, because instead of just relying on her physical talent, being the smartest, being the quickest to understand the math, whatever it is, it was her work ethic that took her farther. Work ethic and understanding how to do it. And I care way more about that than I do about your physical gifts or your physical talent. Natural ability is great, but if you don't work hard, it doesn't matter. There's my long, long rant, Lenny, about why I think physical talent is really overrated. I'll tell another story, actually, if I can. I was once at a college playing quarterback, and a coach picked a guy who could throw the ball a little bit farther because he felt better about his deep ball. And then that quarterback who had a great deep ball and was physically talented had a horrible season and did really, really badly. And the coach was all in love with, he can throw the ball far, and that's why I'm jaded to guys who are really physically talented, because that doesn't matter. I've been on the other side. I've lost because I wasn't the physically talented guy. And the coach picked the talented guy. And the talented guy didn't work hard, was a bad leader, and sucked. And the team lost a lot, and it was miserable. Being behind a quarterback who's terrible, who is just in front of you for solely the reason because he can throw the ball 75 yards, is really, really frustrating. And by the way, it was like 60 yards. It wasn't 75. It was like why are you so in love with this guy's deep ball? That's where I come from, my background. I've been on the other side of that. I'm rambling now. It doesn't matter. Ben wrote in. Ben said, NBA-related question here. What do you think of the Warriors potentially tanking now that they are without the Splash Brothers for a considerable portion of the season? So in case you don't know, Steph Curry has a broken hand, and Klay Thompson for the Golden State Warriors has a torn ACL. And in my opinion, this could be a blessing in disguise if they can suck well enough to get into the top 10 of the NBA draft. I don't think they can. I hope that the Warriors tank. My fear is that either the Warriors win too many games because of D'Angelo Russell, or that the Warriors lose a ton of games and then Draymond Green goes ballistic and gets really mad and has a problem there. It's really difficult to tank when you're a team that's been so successful for so long and you have the remnants of a good roster left there. Just because you lost Steph Curry, your team is still capable. Still have Draymond Green, still have D'Angelo Russell. I think the best case scenario is that the Warriors have like the 15th overall pick in the NBA draft coming up. And, Steph Curry is said to be out for 3 months. That's November, December, January. That means he'd be back in February. So he'd be back with time left in the year. Now, if the Warriors do commit to tanking, what they got to do is say, we're shutting down Steph Curry for the year. We're going to reset, reboot, will be better next year. I feel really weird about the Warriors because they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're good enough that they might not be a top 10 pick. So they're actually in really a bad limbo spot. If they can tank, which I think they should, and get a top 10 pick, maybe a top 5 pick, that'd be unbelievable for the Warriors. I just don't think they're that bad where they can make that happen. So the Warriors are in an ugly spot, and I don't know that they can tank because I think they might be slightly too good unless they shut down Steph Curry. Maybe D'Angelo Russell tweaks his ankle and they take him out for the year. But they're in a difficult spot, a difficult situation in the Bay Area with Golden State Warriors. Seb writes in. Seb says, if you had the power to take one quarterback from a team and put them on another team, who would you choose going to where? I'd love to see Stafford on another team, but that could maximize his potential. How about you? What do you think? Man, get Sam Darnold out of New York, for God's sake, please. Sam Darnold is in real danger of becoming Carson Palmer. It's a mess. Carson Palmer was an incredibly gifted quarterback. Ironically, Sam and Carson both went to USC too. It's actually even funny. I didn't mean for that to happen. That's pretty funny. Carson Palmer got stuck in Cincinnati, a really bad organization that held him back. And if you notice, went to the Bengals, wasn't ever great. Went to the Raiders, wasn't ever great. The minute Carson Palmer had good coaching in Arizona and good, stable ownership in Arizona, bam. Carson Palmer, phenomenal. Off the charts, really good quarterback. It's a lesson in how important having a good organization is. I really hope things change in New York. Right now, they are a ship sinking. They need to send up an SOS. They are a ship sinking of a franchise. And I feel bad for them. Adam Gase is failing. I was really wrong about Adam Gase. It's not working in New York with Adam Gase. And I think Sam can really play. I met him in high school at camps growing up. But man, the Jets organization could just ruin Sam Darnold's entire career. Bad coaching, awful management, terrible ownership. I think really the best hope for Sam Darnold, because the Jets aren't going to let him go unless he's bad enough. Maybe a Mariota situation could happen. He gets benched and traded, which could be the biggest blessing in disguise ever for Sam Darnold. Is maybe Gary Vaynerchuk buys the Jets, and then the Jets will finally have good ownership that lets the Jets be better. But until the Jets get better ownership or something changes in New York, I just feel bad for Sam. I want to get Sam out of there. Sam Darnold's in a bad spot. Baker Mayfield's in a bad spot. But Sam Darnold's the guy I'm really most excited about. And I really wish he could get out of New York and have a better organization behind him. Minnesota, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Saints. I just want Sam Darnold to be somewhere where he's in a position to succeed because he's not got terrible ownership and management all around him. And the way that the Jets have handled Sam Darnold has been so bad. And so if I had the power to move any quarterback, I would move Sam Darnold away from the Jets, literally anywhere else. Please, dear God. The next guy who writes in is Jackson. Jackson writes in and says, what would you call momentum in football? I'm not too big into fantasy football, but I do like looking at betting odds. So far in the past 4 weeks, more teams that were placed as favorites expected to win by an X amount have either not won by that amount expected or even lost the game altogether. On paper, it makes no sense, but watching the actual football game, momentum seems to be a big factor. The emotions, the turnover they needed. What would you call this X factor? Example, betting odds on the 49ers cards was minus 10.5. I don't know what that means, but hey, betting stuff is cool. I guess I don't bet at all. But isn't that bad? I should know what minus 1 and 10.5 and all this stuff is. I have no idea what it means, but whatever. I just don't bet. I don't have money to bet. I don't care about gambling. Anyways, which means that the 49ers were expected to win. Oh, of course, he explains it. I'm so dumb. Which means that the 49ers were expected to win by more than 10 points. Yet Murray played insane and only lost by 3. So the Cardinals they lost by less than they should have. That makes sense. I think a great example of momentum, Jackson, is USC and Oregon last weekend. USC scored a touchdown with 17 seconds left before halftime, and they were closing in on a score. USC was down now 17-21. Oregon led, but they're in a good position where USC is like, we're back, we're in the game, we're going into halftime, we're down 4 points. The USC was feeling like they were in a great spot. And then USC kicked the ball deep, and Oregon returned it for a touchdown. And suddenly, just like that, Oregon led 28-17 going into halftime. That's like a punch in the gut. That's so demoralizing for USC's team, the players in USC, where they're like, we were so close, and we just got knocked back down. And that's part of why I love the NFL. There's fewer mismatches in the NFL. When Alabama plays almost any team, it's a mismatch, right? And no matter what momentum swings happen, Louisiana Lafayette's not going to beat Alabama. But in the NFL, even an undefeated team versus a bad team, it's still far less lopsided talent-wise. Everybody can play. Everybody's good enough. And so momentum plays a way bigger part where a big play, you catch a break, things that give you hope you can win, that's what momentum is. And that's what happens there is you get a surge of energy. Oh, we block better because we believe we have a chance here. And what's really cool to me is when a player can overcome a negative momentum shift away from them, like a momentum swings away. So when the Jaguars played the Broncos earlier this year, things were going really bad for Gardner Minshew, like horribly. And yet he kept fighting and still rallied his team at the very end. And Gardner Minshew ended up winning the game, even though things went badly for a long time in the first half of that game. It's seeing guys who can overcome bad momentum shifts that don't go in their favor. That's what I love. But momentum is just a moment that happens in a game that gives you hope and continues your fighting. And you go, oh, we got this. We can do this. And the team rallies around that moment. That's what momentum is in football especially. Okay, Devin writes in. This is Devin with an A. Devin writes in and says, hey, Zach, I've noticed you love video games. You've made analogies with Darksiders and Zelda. That's an example memorable to most recent viewers. Have you ever played a video game that imparted valuable life lessons or helped you mold as a person? If so, what game and how did it influence you? As for me, the Dark Souls series affected me the most. It imparted the lesson that no matter what obstacle stands in your way, you can always overcome it with perseverance. Never give up and always get back up. I know this isn't sports related, but I thought you'd enjoy answering regardless. Absolutely. This question is one of my favorites of the day. It was this one and the favorite teams question. I was like, I can't wait to answer these. There are two things in my life that have bad reputations to most people. Like parents don't like these two things, seemingly, when I was a kid. Not my parents, maybe a little bit. But there's like a negative stereotype about these two things. But they really helped me grow as a person. It's skateboarding and video games are the two things in my life where I'm like, I know people don't love skateboarding and there's a negative connotation with skateboarding. I know a lot of people think video games are bad. But like, first of all, the stereotype that skateboarders are lazy is so stupid and not well thought out. Try learning a kickflip. Just try. Try riding a skateboard and then tell me that skateboarders are lazy. It took me hours and hours and hours and hours and days and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of trying to flip the stupid skateboard over and over again before I finally learned how to do a kickflip. It took me forever. But when I got it, it was this incredible triumphant moment I was so excited about. I'm sure that's how you felt when Devin played Dark Souls, an incredibly tough video game that takes a lot of time to progress. I'm sure when he got through past a spot in progression in Dark Souls, he was so proud. Like, I fought hard for that. There are all kinds of lessons of perseverance you can learn in video games. Now, I connect with stories. My favorite games of all time are Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted, Jack and Daxter. There's a cool platformer. I'm going to give it a shout out because no one really knows about it. I didn't until a while ago. It's called A Hat in Time. It's the best 3D platformer I've ever played in my life. It's phenomenal. Uncharted is my favorite game series ever. Horizon Zero Dawn, I mentioned it, but that's my favorite game of all time. I love it. And for me, the lesson I've learned, there's all kinds of good stories in video games, right? In The Last of Us, Ellie was gay, and it was a good moment where like I connected for the first time with a character. I was like, oh, there's this character I love. He's gay. That's really cool. But video games have helped me learn how to rest. I'm a big introvert. I know that people don't believe that. I hate large crowds. I don't like parties. I don't like drinking. I'm a weird nerd who likes solitude. Literally, I am. And I've had to learn how to own that. I'm just a weird, nerdy dude who's quiet and likes to be at my house. I don't want to go out. I just like to be home. And accepting that was really hard. And once I did accept that it's okay for me to want to stay home and stay in my apartment and just be where I am and not go out, it felt really freeing. And so games have helped me learn how to rest and relax and have alone and downtime. Having alone time is so important. And that's what games are for me. I don't play online. I don't play with people. It's my time to myself, and I love it. Because if you're gonna rest, I can't just take a nap. I'm too like, I'm like go. I need to do stuff, and I have energy, and I always am going all the time. So having a game in my hand, having a controller, playing video games, when I sit down and take a break, I feel like I'm doing something and accomplishing something. I feel good about it, but it's not a waste. Like it's not what is the word? It's restful to me, and it's wonderfully fulfilling and enriching of my time and my energy. And someday when I get better computer equipment, I would love to. I finish a video game about every 4 months, because it takes me so long to play through games because I'm so slow. But it'd be cool to when I played through The Last of Us 2, make a video about how was The Last of Us 2? Did I like it? Here's why. Just do a film analysis video of The Last of Us. That'd be really fun. Or Jedi Fallen Order is a game coming out. I'm so excited to play that someday. And doing a film analysis of Jedi Fallen Order would be incredible. It'd be awesome. And so for me, football, movies, and video games are my favorite things in the entire world. Those are my 3 favorite things in the world that I just love so much. I love them a ton. And the thing that games did for me is they really helped me learn how to take a break, how to rest, how to, last night I slept for 2.5 hours. I feel miserable. I know that when I feel like I'm having a bad episode, it's not really true. It's just because I'm tired. And my voice, I have a hard time talking when I'm tired because your whole body's exhausted. I work all the time. I do. I'm proud of the work I do. I love what we're rebuilding with Strong Opinion Sports. But the games help me get away, and video games have helped me learn how to take a break. So I'm a big fan of video games. I don't talk about them very often. But yeah, I love them, and I really appreciated that question because that's the lesson I learned from video games is it's okay to take a break, and they've helped me along the way of taking a break and stepping away sometimes and having downtime and having alone time. Okay, the final thing is from Haley. Haley writes in, she says, "Hey, Zach, I've been following SOS for quite a while, and your content is just getting better and better. I can't wait to see the future of the show as more and more people discover you. I'm from Sydney, Australia, and I'm a huge Chicago Bulls and Saints fan. As a kid born in 1990, the main NBA franchise influence here were the Bulls, the Hornets, and Orlando Magic. I played basketball my whole youth and immediately latched onto the Bulls and never stopped loving them, even though they've been trashed for ages now, lol. As for the Saints, in high school, everyone was a fan of the Kardashians, and at that time when Kim was dating Reggie Bush. Kim Kardashian was dating Reggie Bush. Whilst everyone was frothing over the Kardashians, I was more interested in Reggie and began to follow his NFL rookie year. So that's how I became a Saints fan. Not too amazing, but shout out to Kim K. He will always be my favorite NFL player because he was a real introduction to the sport and to the Saints. #WhoDat. I love this part from Haley. Haley says, "I love the heaps of questions I'll be sure to ask over the next Ask Zach's, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you for creating such an inclusive area for sports fans. Being a female and part of the LGBT community, sports can sometimes be really toxic for my mental health. Often casual homophobia, sexism, transphobia, etc. flourish in sports communities, which can lead for fans like myself to feel ostracized from enjoying something we absolutely love. SOS is such a positive show with a really positive community that you've cultivated. So I really want to take the opportunity to thank you and all the other fans, you guys listening, for making this my favorite online sports community. Good luck with everything. Thanks for reading this with your eyeballs. And good luck. And look forward to more and more episodes and the merch. She knows the secret. I'm so excited. We have merch coming. I just can't tell you officially. It's tomorrow. I don't care. I'll ruin the spoil. I'll ruin the thing. Haley says, thanks, Haley. Dude, I love that message from Haley so much. I'm so proud of everything she said. Because we have this incredible community. Strong Opinion Sports is so cool because, especially all the people on Patreon, they're incredible. It's a community of people who all have a common interest, which is sports. Like, I don't care. You know, you may not understand, you may not know this. My younger brother's trans. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care the color of your skin. We're all human. And if you're human, like, I just don't care about all that stuff. If you're human, I'm happy to talk to you. I think you matter. I love that. And I don't care who you're sleeping with to have a conversation with you about the Chicago Bulls or the New Orleans Saints or the Atlanta Falcons or the Indianapolis Colts. Like, sports are such a cool way to unite people. Who cares about our differences, man? I just don't care. If you have blood pulsing through your veins, you sound like a cool person to me. And, man, I am just so proud of the culture and the group of people we've cultivated through Patreon. And it's a cool community. And I'm so proud of Strong Opinion Sports. And I love you guys for listening, man. It means so much to me. And it's funny that Haley became a fan because she liked Reggie Bush and the Kim Kardashian letter there. I don't know, man. I just am so overjoyed. I love doing the show. I love you guys. And I want to end the show today with my favorite song in the world. I'm not kidding. I'm dead serious. I listen to the song every single morning. It's how I start my day, and then I listen to it on repeat for about 20 minutes because just 20, 30. I love the song. So this is my favorite pump-up song in the world. It's my good friends, Ethan Day and, Jordan Reardon. I hope it's Jordan. It might be John Allen. I think it's John Allen. I don't know. I know Ethan Day. Ethan's a friend of mine. I love him. And I love him and his partner. They make great music. This is Almost Blonde and their single,